Today we're breaking down this weekend's best games, and we're going to start with Tennessee versus Kentucky. This is a long rivalry. This will be their 118th meeting. And when you look at the records, Tennessee dominates it, leading 82-26-9. Absolute domination, but in the last couple of years, it hasn't really been that way. Last 5 games, Tennessee leads the series 3-2, but they've won with just about an average margin of a little over a touchdown, which is a lot, but I don't think it's as much as Tennessee fans have been used to. Now, if we're going to mention point differential, I think we have to mention Tennessee's this season. Everybody knows that their offense has been ridiculous. Their average margin of victory is 27 points this year, right? The 2019 LSU Tigers, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, that ridiculous offense with incredible NFL talent, their average margin of victory was 26.5 points. Now, I know we're 7 games through. Tennessee's got 5 SEC games left, but they're at a point, 7 games of the season, that's just ridiculous. And I think that stat needs to be mentioned. I think it needs to be noticed, and I think it needs to be applauded because it is impressive. So what does Kentucky have to do to win this game? I think it's imperative, absolutely imperative, that they get off to a hot start. Because if you get off to a slow start against this Tennessee team, I mean, it's done and dusted. If you don't start clicking till late in the first quarter, middle of the second quarter, you can look up at the scoreboard and you're already down 28-0. I mean, Bama started really slowly, but Kentucky's not Bama. They're not. They don't have the quarterback. They don't have the offense that Bama has. So it is imperative that they start fast and that they play fast the entire game. This Tennessee offense is too good. They're too good, they're too fast, they're too efficient. If you want to look at how efficient this Tennessee offense is, they rank 121st out of 131 teams in the country in average time of possession. 121st. But they lead the nation in total yards per game and total points per game with a little bit over 50. That's ridiculous. So, again, Kentucky has to get off to a fast start. Now, what else do they have to do? I think Will Levis has to have a freak game. I think he has to play better than he's played any other game this season, maybe, and definitely in his career. This Tennessee team has struggled with the pass defense this year. That's been obvious. They're 130th out of 131 teams in pass defense. They're beaten up in the secondary, they're inexperienced at corner, and they're vulnerable right now. And so Kentucky has to look and take advantage of that. This Kentucky team ranks 12th in the SEC in passing offense. That's not going to cut it this game. They have to do a lot better. Will Levis has had an average season, 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. Nothing great, about middle in the pack of all those statistics. He has to play like the top 3 draft pick that he's supposed to be. I don't see it, but people do, and he's got to play like he's truly a top 3 draft pick this weekend. Last year when Kentucky played the Vols, Will Levis had 400 total yards and 5 total touchdowns. He played amazing. Now, they still lost, but I think this Vols defense is not as good as the Vols defense was last year. Kentucky has last year's SEC leading rusher in Chris Rodriguez still the team, but if I'm Mark Stoops, I don't think running the ball is where you go to beat this Tennessee team. They rank 8th in the country in total rush defense. They've only let up 3 runs of 20-plus yards, and 2 of those were against Pitt. This Vols defense against the run is stingy, letting up just a little bit over 90 yards per game. So if I'm Mark Stoops, you got to put the ball in Will Levis's hands, and you got to say, hey, go get us the win. So if Kentucky can somehow get off to a fast start, somehow make Tennessee get off to a slow one, and if Will Levis can ball, I'm talking Joe Burrow, Cam Newton, Heisman year ball, then I think they can win. Now, do I think Kentucky will win? No, I don't. I just don't see Kentucky stopping this offense and having the offense to keep up with it. Now, if you look at how they rank in passer efficiency on defense, 8th in the country. A fantastic stat. A fantastic stat for this team. But with this offense, they're too good. That will slow them down. right? They're not going to put up 50, but what does slowing this team down mean, right? Holding them to 31 points in a game, 35 points in a game. Your offense ranks 12th in the SEC. Kentucky's does. Is that going to be enough to score that many points? I don't know. It will if Will Levis balls out, but only if that happens. We saw what Bama did. Bama scored 49 points in a game. Bryce Young threw for 450 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they still lost. Tennessee's offense is the hottest in the country, and they're rolling now. And guess what? Cedric Tillman's probably going to play in this game. He's been out since the 3rd game of the season, and he's probably going to be back. And now Kentucky's going to have to decide, do we double-team Jalen? Do we double-team Cedric? Because they can't double-team both. They can't. People forget Cedric Tillman was this team's best wide receiver 3 games into the season. He was the only SEC returning wide receiver with over 1,000 yards. He caught for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns last year. And he's going to be back this week. Now, he might not play as many snaps as we're used to seeing him play at the beginning of the season, but he's back. And you got to decide how to defend him. I also just don't think, from what we've seen of Will Levis this year, that he's capable of putting on the offensive performance that Kentucky needs to beat this team. The Vols are hot. They're rolling. And I think they're going to win this game, and I think they'll improve to 8-0. So give me the Vols. Give me Hendon Hooker leading this team to yet another victory.